Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for Live with Sara and Tasha. So nice to see all of your smiling faces. We have a great time planned. We'll continue to admit all of our members. Awesome. So nice to see all your faces.
So for those who have not met Sara and I before, I am Tasha McCrae. I am the Director of Brand and Culture at LiveWell. And to my left, at least on my screen, the way it's showing up, is Sara Hodson, the founder and CEO here at LiveWell.
We love, this is really a highlight of Tasha and I's week, is jumping on these live sessions with all of you for the opportunity to discuss a specific topic, answer your questions, and to just really bring Live Well to life in this way. For those of you who don't know, Tasha and I have been now doing this at Live Well together for 10 years. And prior to that, worked together for almost a decade in cardiac rehab. But in 2011, when we started and opened the very first Live Well exercise clinic, we are the original clinical exercise physiologists and health coaches that worked with our members there. So
I
we are
know you're
so
saying,
thrilled.
I know you're going and doing the math in your head and thinking, wait a minute, 10 years at LiveWell, 10 years in cardiac rehab. There's no way these two ladies are old enough to have that. So we appreciate that that acknowledgement.
And we also realize that we're absolutely making that up because none of you actually said that. We are projecting thoughts at you. So, but we're pretty confident you were all thinking that. And so we really host these calls to share with you our passion around exercise as medicine and the power that we believe can be found in behavior change that we can deliver to you in your Live Well program. And we obviously love the opportunity to connect with each one of you from all of our clinics across Canada. So thank you for joining us. Welcome to today's session. Today's topic is mindfulness.
Yes, and if you got my reminder the other day and were thinking, wait a minute, aren't we talking about portion control today? I apologize. I am human and made an error. We are talking about portion control next week. Today is all about mindfulness. And I think this is a great topic to couple with what we've been talking about in clinic, which is sort of relaxation and breathing techniques over the course of this week. So this is a kind of a topic that's going to mesh really well with what you're hearing in clinic this week. So let's get started by talking about what is mindfulness and what does that really mean. And a mindfulness practice is about bringing your attention into the present moment or to whatever your current experience is, and simply being with it and observing how things are in that moment. And I think a really important part when we look at mindfulness is to observe things how they are without judgment necessarily, just to see it for what it is without labeling it good or bad, pretty or ugly, just being able to sit with it and just go, this is what it is at this moment, and bring all of your senses to the experience. And why this is important is research is now starting to show that mindfulness has all sorts of health benefits. It can improve our concentration. It can improve our self-awareness. There's lots of literature looking at how it helps with stress management and reducing the symptoms of anxiety and depression. I was recently reading something that talked about the effect of mindfulness in lowering blood pressure and heart disease. we're seeing it used everywhere, from sports, professional sports athletes, to, corporate training for people in high stress jobs like lawyers. So it's a really broad area that has just sort of come out of feeling a bit woo woo into mainstream science, maybe in the last 2 decades.
And when we really look at kind of how are we going to start to learn mindfulness, and I'll be totally honest, mindfulness is something that is challenging for me. I'm someone who, I have a lot of thoughts going on in my head. I think all of us can probably relate to kind of being on autopilot. Have you ever kind of like driven home and gotten your driveway and you kind of think, ooh, how did I get here? What was the path that I took? Do I remember the last 5 minutes? Because we're on autopilot for so many of our tasks, like, brushing our teeth and so forth. And we're constantly thinking, what just happened, what's going to happen, instead of being present. And it's something that is really something that I have to practice, and be kind with myself, because I'm not good with this. And Tash and I used to joke that in Whistler, far before COVID, there is a place called the Scandinave Spa. Has anyone been to the Scandinave Spa before in Whistler? It's these kind of plunge pools, but they have a rule there, and the rule is no talking. Well, that's a challenge for me. So we have this little joke that we say is that, I can't go to the Scandinave Spa because you're not allowed to talk. And I don't have an ability to not talk. But what I also then have learned is that I actually have to practice that and be kind with myself. It's not something that comes easily for me, is to be present and is to be focused. But I think that all of us do have to be, really kind to ourselves when we are starting to learn how to practice mindfulness. And it really is at that moment of being fully present and aware of what we are experiencing through all of our senses, right? And if we actually just kind of gave ourselves permission to break for only a few moments, and connect before we say reached into the fridge, or and listen to our bodies, we could actually make better choices.
Yeah, and I think to add to what Sarah's saying, so many of us, if we really are present with our thoughts, we actually spend most of our lives living in the future or in the past. We're thinking about things that happened to us and we're kind of ruminating on those, or we're busy projecting ourselves to the present. What's going to happen? What do I have to do? And so it's not maybe our natural instinct to just sit with what is at this very moment. And I know for me, somebody who loves productivity, at first glance, it can feel unproductive to just sit with what it is in the moment. So that is my challenge in being present, is to go, I only have to focus on what is here at this very moment and not worrying about what is in the next 5 minutes, or the 5 minutes, or the 5 years that just passed, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that as we, and again, you hear Sarah and I using the word practice, mindfulness is a practice, meaning that you will not be good at it the first time that you give it a shot. Simply, as you're not probably going to be good at baseball the first time somebody throws a ball towards you and gives you a bat, right? It takes time to develop this skill. And so be, as Sarah said, kind with yourself, because when you're doing it, you will likely find that the monkey mind kicks in. Has everybody heard that term, monkey mind? Right? You sit to quietly pay attention to your breathing, or to try a meditation practice, and all you hear in your mind is something about the past, something, oh, I should do that. Oh, when I'm done here, oh, I forgot to call so and so, right? And your mind just starts taking away. And that can make you feel like I'm not good at this or I'm doing it wrong. And that's simply not true. It's just that you need practice in quieting your mind and bringing yourself into the present moment. And if for anybody who's tried something like meditation, you know that, it's not just practicing once or twice. It could take quite a while to develop that skill. But it is worthwhile to develop. So don't give up. You are getting benefit even while the monkey is going.
And it
So
is possible. It is possible, because I know that as I have been working at this, I know that it is possible, and it does get easier over time. And we do find our own strategies, but it literally is through practice, like Tasha shared. And so today we thought that we would share with you kind of 6 tips on really moving into a mindfulness practice, hopefully eventually on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we really want to have where, we brush our teeth every day and we can take those mindful pauses and those mindful moments. And so for our first tip is to engage in a minute of breathing several times a day. So for those of you who have been attending your exercise sessions this week in clinic or by live streaming in, or even if you're participating over our on-demand member portal, you will see that the education this week has actually been around this topic. How many of you feel that you have heard this information around breathing and relaxation? Yes, right? And so really kind of trying to engage in 1 minute of breathing. You don't need to actually change your breathing depth or frequency or rate. It's just really concentrating on the sensation, the sound of breathing, the sound of your oxygen or air simply moving in and out, and to try this a few times a day, and to kind of slowly increase the length of your sessions over time. But really starting with 1 minute. And it's interesting when you're in that 1 minute, how long a minute actually can be. And again, it's one of those things where we let minutes just fly by as like tick, 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 tick. But when you're in it for the 60 seconds, it actually is amazing how long a minute can be.
and how much benefit you can get out of that minute.
Yeah.
So in clinic, we're talking about that 360 breath. Again, as Sara said, start by just observing how you breathe and then try to bring that 360 breath into your practice. So another thing that we can do and make a conscious effort to do is to take something that we typically perform mindlessly. It might be getting dressed, brushing your teeth, washing the dishes, taking a shower, and to do it more mindfully. So when you're having your morning shower, rather than again parading through what you have to do today, take a moment to actually feel the water hitting your skin. What is the temperature like? What does that feel like? What does your soap smell like? As you're using a washcloth, what is that texture like on your skin? Same thing with something like washing your hands, which is something we're having to do a lot these days. So can you take that moment to just, how does that even hand sanitizer feel as it glides on your hands? What does it feel like as you rub your hands together? Are your hands warm or are they cold? It's taking that time in that 30 seconds that can help you make sure that you meet your actual amount of time that we're supposed to take to wash our hands. Can you be mindful about it and really notice and be present? The sound of the water or the little machine going and giving you that little bit of hand sanitizer. So really be present to that experience.
And I will say that I think all of us have become hand sanitizer experts. Don't you agree? Like, you sometimes put your hand under, it's like the surprise, is it going to be foam? Is it going to be gel? Is it going to be the sticky stuff? Is like, we've all become these experts in hand sanitizer, and we've all become these like customer review ratings of hand sanitizer. I personally still really like the foam. I feel like it's light and fluffy, and I can really get it all over my hands, but I don't feel like kind of like sticky and that I have like gel all over my hands. Anyways, I liked that Tasha brought up the hand sanitizer example, because we definitely can all relate to hand sanitizer. We see it about every 6 feet. No surprise, one of our tips here involves moving our bodies, and it is go for a walk. And while you're on your walk, maybe even choose an environment that is quieter. Maybe it's a park, maybe it's by a pond, where you can really take in the smells, the sights, the scenery, smelling kind of in the fall, all of those fall smells, in the spring right now, what are all of those individual smells, even as you progress on your walk? What are all of the different smells that you're smelling? What is it that you're hearing? Is there wind? Which direction is the wind blowing? And just being really, really present on the walk. And even trying to just go by yourself, moments where you feel the sun on your face, other moments where maybe you're in the shade and it's a little bit colder. I personally like to go for walks at a place called Crescent Park. It's just around the corner from where I grew up. So for me, it has some nostalgia of, as a child going to the playground there, and I ran cross country there in my elementary and high school years. And whenever I walk in that park in September or October, which is those cross country months, the smell of that park takes me back to those moments. And so it's a really special thing. So I love going to that park. And when Tasha and I, a year ago now, we're in the midst of COVID closures. All of our clinics across Canada were closed. We were trying to support and love you as our members in every possible way that we could. It was a stressful time, and Tasha and I would sometimes get in the car and drive to that park, and sometimes even just lay on the grass and take in the smells and the sights and the sounds. And so finding a place like that can be really magical.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of what I call forest bathing. My kids hear it all the time. Who's ready for a forest walk? And they're like, oh, Mom, do we have to? But, just the other day, I think it was 2 nights ago, I went out and everything was so bright with spring. The green was so bright, almost fluorescent. And just taking the time to absorb that, at least for me, is a great way to find the joy.
Mm-hmm.
So our next idea for you to incorporate some mindfulness is when you're eating. And I think this is just also an important health habit, because when we're eating mindfully, we kind of slow down our eating. We're paying attention to the colors and the textures. We've talked about this before on these calls, the importance of being mindful when we're eating. But look at the presentation. What is the smells? Think of all the times, like when you've driven and not realized that you got to the destination. Think of all the times that you've eaten and not realized, you're kind of almost not doing it consciously. You're feeding your body because it's either time to feed your body, or, your schedule allows you to do it now, and you're kind of more shoveling the food rather than really being mindful of it and experiencing your food in all of the ways that it comes up. And lots of research to support that when we do stop and we do eat mindfully, we are able to more naturally listen to our body's triggers. So you might find that you realize, what, I am full, I am satiated, I've had enough. Before, I've talked before on this call about, I grew up in a clean your plate family. So if I'm not mindful, I'll clean the plate before I've paid attention to my hunger cues. So I almost override my natural hunger cues. But by being mindful throughout the meal, paying attention to it, paying attention to the colors, the smells, the textures, almost playing with your food a little bit, you can be more mindful and just make better choices overall. The other time that I find being mindful around food is really helpful is when you open the fridge, taking that 30 seconds, if that 15 seconds, to take a deep breath, to connect with your body, and to ask yourself, why am I here? And I think that that can be an interesting. I have a really funny tick about walking into my parents' home and opening the pantry. I have no idea why, but I walk into their home and I open the pantry and often start just grabbing a little nibbly this or nibbly that. I've not figured it out. What kind of trauma childhood thing has given me to run to the pantry every time I'm at my parents? My parents are lovely parents. I'm sure there's no trauma. But
Mom and Dad, if you're listening, we
sorry. Um, but the idea is that now I've become aware of it, right? And then I'm able to now, when I stop, catch myself, and literally I ask myself silently, "What are you doing in here?" And just trying to connect with whatever emotion or whatever has driven me there. And then I'm able to close the cupboard because the answer is, I'm not sure, because it's not hunger, and move on. So those little mindfulness moments around our food and our food behaviors can really just help us even identify reasons we might be eating that are beyond hunger. And then we can find a little bit more productive coping mechanisms for whatever those emotions are.
And so our fifth tip, I've already been very open with all of you that I am a good talker. Maybe I'm not good at it, but I do a lot of it. One thing that I'm not as good at is listening, and really being conscious and focused and mindful, and just taking a moment to actually practice listening with someone. Make eye contact, and try to, and we all do this, but try to listen without thinking about what you're going to say next, or looking for that moment where you can jump into the conversation. I know that we do this, and it's very, very hard to kind of break that habit in a way, but just sometimes really practicing listening, making eye contact, and again, being present in that moment does help us with our mindfulness.
Yeah. I as a talker, I too struggle with this one, but I think listening is often about holding, or what I've learned through coaching, is that listening is often just holding space for that person to tell their side or their story. But and then tap into, why do you feel like you need to jump in, right? Is it uncomfortable? Is it that you want to appear intelligent in this conversation? Again, being mindful can just help you connect with what you're feeling as well.
And what I want to
Well,
add into that is, no, I'm kidding. That was me pretending to jump in and not actually practice
Sarah and I
listening.
have been known to interrupt each other before, you might have noticed. So the
That was just,
last tip that I have for you in getting mindful, again, is more of a body focused exercise in doing a quick body scan. And this can be something more formal, like a guided relaxation, which there is a guided relaxation, a recorded guided relaxation for you in your member portal that you can listen to and follow along with. It's in, if you go into the on demand section, it's in the bonus section. So it can be something formal like that, or it can be a quick check-in where you do a quick body scan and go, how am I feeling at this moment? Am I comfortable? Am I sort of working on my computer and I have all this tension in my upper neck? Just checking in how your body is feeling, and then sort of moving throughout your day with a little attention and care. Think about when you're out there gardening, you're sort of very focused and purposeful in your work. But if we're mindful of our body and our movement as we're doing it, we may be less likely to do something that's going to put our back out, or putting ourselves in an uncomfortable position that we may end up paying for later. So just really being mindfulness, checking in with your body throughout the day. How am I feeling? And I think that when we really get good at this, what we start to see is that mind body connection. When you're not feeling good here, you actually notice it in your body, and vice versa, right? And so really starting to pay attention to that, so we can become more aware of it, and then we can start to make those changes. Awareness is always the first step, and mindfulness is really about just being aware of what's happening in this moment, in your mind, body, and in your environment.
And so we will now open it up. If anyone has any questions, comments, please feel free to type into the chat, and we would be happy to answer any of your questions. Maybe some of you can share some of the successes, or maybe even some obstacles that you've had in practicing mindfulness. Would love to hear from all of you.
I think that you have probably gleaned that Sara and I, though we can try to answer your questions, are not yet experts. We're not levitating with our mindfulness as of yet, but we're working on it.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm convinced of it.
But again, sometimes, mindfulness and meditation, a lot of the research is around meditation, and things like yoga, but you don't have to be, a yogi or a meditator in order to reap those benefits.
Maureen is sharing with us that she's going to use your little tip there, Tasha, of when you're at the pantry or the fridge. Why am I here?
Yeah, my family has even heard me say it out loud. Why am I here? What am I looking for? And then I answer myself out loud, because talking to yourself is super healthy. and I say, what you're looking for is not in this pantry. And move along. And then close the door with authority and confidence. Awesome.
Something that I found out that kind of has helped me, and just because I have things going through my mind constantly, as all of us do. I have my kids and school and work and pets and everything that goes on in life. It's all kind of running through my head. Is that I did find that I needed to, in order to really show up and to be mindful, I needed to kind of just write down the things that were just kind of fresh off the top of my head, that I knew were just kind of circling around. Like if those were things that I needed to do later, I got to go to London Drugs and to Safeway and these, and I got to go to the post office, whatever it is, to just kind of get those things off of my mind and to just almost write it down on paper and get a short list going. I personally found that helpful for me. And so maybe that's a tip that will help any of you.
Yeah, Bonnie's been practicing meditation, and I love the emphasis on the word practicing, for many years. That's awesome. And I'm so glad that you enjoyed the guided meditation. That's awesome. Awesome. Great. Thanks, Bonnie.
And this is your first week at Live Well. Welcome. Welcome to the family. We are so pleased to have you at Live Well.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, as a chronic worrier, I'm just, like others, I like to be in control of many situations in my life. And so I tend with that to worry. But when we are just thinking about this moment, often there's nothing to worry about or to do in this moment. And so the more we can connect with that, the more we can detach from worrying about things. I saw a great little thing on the internet the other day that said, do you have a problem? And it said yes and no. And it was like a rubric that you could follow. It said, so if you said, yes, I have a problem, can you do something about it? And it said yes or no. And if yes, you can do something about it, well, then you don't need to worry. No, if you can't do anything about it, there's no need to worry. And then on the flip side, from the major question was, do you have a problem? No. Well, then there's no need to worry about it there too. So I thought that was a lovely little reminder that, sometimes we're worrying for nothing and it's not getting us anywhere but stressed.
Yeah.
And mindfulness can help us with that.
So as we send you all off into your week, couple little things that, you could maybe consider doing this week. The first one being just try to add a few minutes of mindfulness practice to your day this week. Start with 1 minute. If you haven't done this before, just start with 1 minute. Be kind to yourself. Remember that word, practice.
And as well, when you're exercising this week, try to be mindful, even if it's not in nature, as we talked about, when you're actually in the clinic, think about it. In that moment, as you're thinking, oh, this is terrible, so-and-so increased my treadmill speed, just be with it in the moment. You might find it's not so terrible. Or you might realize that moment leaves quickly, or you can be with your breath in that moment. The other great thing is when we're exercising, pay attention to the muscle you're working. You will actually get a better workout when you're feeling it in the places that you should be feeling it.
And don't forget to log into your member portal and set your weekly practice plan for the week to make sure that you choose those 1, 2, or 3 things that you feel highly confident that you can achieve. And then don't forget to share your wins. You can share your wins in the clinic or on the member portal virtually on the win wall there.
Awesome. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Live Well Exercise Clinic YouTube channel. All of the back issues of Live with Sara and Tasha are there and posted. So if you ever miss one, you will still get it. And we have some other fun content there. There is a silly video of Sara and I dancing around, showing you what we were doing at the beginning of COVID. So Morgan's asking, do you look at our win wall? So yes, we do. And in fact, every clinic owner, we meet once every 3 weeks, and we always have highlights from the win wall up there. So the staff look at it, we look at it, the franchise owners look at it. So your wins inspire us just as much as they inspire other members. So thank you for posting them.
And we also have the ability to just look kind of at Maureen's profile and to just see the wins that Maureen has posted. And so yeah, it's really nice to be able to see those. And thank you. It's so meaningful to me and Tasha for us to be able to read your wins, since we're not in the clinic working with you anymore directly. So thank you for always sharing those. Don't forget to join us next week, same time, same place, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Next week, we're talking about portion control. So it's going to be a great topic, a great discussion. Bring your questions, and everyone have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great one, guys.